everyone, and welcome to this Enhancing Learning in Microsoft Teams with FeedbackFruits webinar. My name is Maartje Couck, and I'm a learning specialist in the education team in the Microsoft Netherlands, and I will be one of your hosts today. And as you can see on the slide, Afke is my other co-host, and she basically has the same role, but while I'm responsible more for higher education, so colleges, universities, and academic hospitals, Afke is my counterpart in primary, secondary, and vocational education. So we're colleagues in the education team, and we have a nice agenda for you today, because we will really be talking about how can you make your lessons more engaging and really have your students active in your class. And we invited some guests for that. So we have 4 guests. We have Marina Brinkman from the Breda University of Applied Sciences. We have Jeroen Mulder from Nova College. We have Maartje from FeedbackFruits and Amanda also from FeedbackFruits. And I will start with an introduction, mostly more on what is Teams, what is FeedbackFruits for the ones who are a little bit more new to this. Then we'll deep dive into a conversation with Afke, Jeroen, and Marina on the practical side. So how do you really use FeedbackFruits in Teams, in University of Applied Sciences, and in a vocational school, and maybe what are the differences between that? And then we'll see what new is up and coming with FeedbackFruits and what they have on the roadmap. And then I'll host that conversation with Ewout and Ananda. So to get us started, this webinar is a follow-up from the last webinar where we really announced an integration with FeedbackFruits in Teams. As you can see on this slide, it really became a tab in Teams. So as most of you know, Teams is a conversational and communicational platform where we are really strong in productivity from a Microsoft perspective, but FeedbackFruits is really strong on the learning side of things. So that's why it is beautiful that those 2 platforms really came together and we made it available in a tab. So if you serve to your Teams environment and then you go to any team, any channel, and you click the plus side on the top of your of that channel, then you will be able to search for FeedbackFruits and you will see the app available now. Where a couple of months ago it wasn't, now everyone can access that. Just a little side note, if you don't see it, that might be because of your institutional policies where they might have turned apps off. So make sure that if you don't see it, check with your IT department first. And if that is all set, then we can reach out to FeedbackFruits to see if we can help you solve your problems. So I'm really excited to announce this new integration and that it's available for everyone. So as I said, Microsoft is really a productivity platform, and our Teams is, and FeedbackFruits focuses more on the learning side of things. So for those of you who have not known FeedbackFruits very well, this illustration illustrates my time at university perfectly. So you start with you have this initial excitement when you move to a new university or a new college or a new school for that matter, and you want to meet new people, you want to be social, you're really excited about the new content that you're going to learn. So there's the initial excitement bump. And then you go to class and then you read some, you go to class, you read some, and basically your engagement as a student is just dropping if the classes are not that active. So it's mostly passive learning, or at least it was in my 5 years of university. And then there's that exam panic, right? So 1 month before the exam, you're like, oh crap, and then you start to search for notes and just have everyone look for help. And then that's basically the last month before you do your exam. And I really love that FeedbackFruits has the mission to really engage learners more throughout their journey. So not just the last month before your exam, but like really from the moment you enter class or you enroll in your university to the moment you actually do your exam. And they have like these the growing number of tools. So a while ago, there were 11. And you can really divide them in a couple of categories. So you have the ones from peer feedback, where you can really just have each other's assignments reviewed, so just by students, or you can have the assignment review, or you can have the group member evaluation. Now, there's all these specific tools. Or you can give interactive study material, where it's like an interactive video or an interactive audio document, where you can just like drop these questions in the document, and you can have your students prepare them in front of before you have your next lecture, which really can engage your students more than they just come passively to your lecture, and it might spark some brainstorming actions. And then there's also interactive classroom, which is a more synchronous way of learning, or you can just do a discussion assignment. And there's a lot more up and coming, which I will talk about with Ewout in just a moment. So that is great. And before we go to the practical side, there is one more slide that I want to show you, and that is that FeedbackFruits was so kind to make the offer available for free until September 1st. So if you go to feedbackfruits.com/Microsoft-webinar-offer, you can actually sign up for FeedbackFruits for free if you don't have it yet. If you already do have a FeedbackFruits license, then there's no hiccup or anything to use it in Teams. So if you already use FeedbackFruits in Blackboard or Moodle or Brightspace or another LMS you might have, then at no additional cost, you can just use it in Teams as well, if you might wonder. We'll show the slide at the end again, in case you need the links, and I think the moderator will about post them in the chat. Right now, I don't see the chat, so hopefully that works out. And I just forgot, but I still do want to know, but I think I forgot one thing. And I'm gonna hop back to the first slide because I really want to know, is if you scan this QR code, then you can fill in what you want to learn today. And I want to use those answers to see at the end of the webinar if we covered everything. So if you can scan the QR code, or you can click on the link in the chat if it was not there yet, that would really help us to see if we covered every base today. And that was it for my part. I will hand it over now to Afke, who will have a conversation with Marina and Jeroen on the practical side.
Yes, thanks Maartje. And welcome Jeroen and Marina at Microsoft Office. Marina, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Marina Brinkman, and I work at Breda University for Applied Sciences, where I facilitate educational innovations and I nudge them for the whole university. But I'm also a senior lecturer in research methods and techniques for 2 programs within our bachelor degrees.
Okay, thank you for being here. And Jeroen?
I'm I coach at Nova College, and I help the teachers to integrate the technology into the classroom, so the education gets on a bigger, higher level for the students.
Yeah, thank you. You want to share your knowledge here. Marina, can you tell me a bit more on why you started using FeedbackFruits integrated in Teams?
Well, there are a couple of reasons, to be very honest. I think one of the most important reasons is the full technical integration. So the fact that FeedbackFruits is a plugin, which allows the end users, so our students and the lecturers, to have this seamless experience within the platform of Microsoft Teams. I don't have to hop on and off to other platforms and use different accounts. So that is a very huge advantage. It's one of the reasons. The use of a single sign-on within the university makes it really efficient as well in the use. But also the fact that there are 11 tools, which basically are an add-on of 2 functionalities which Microsoft Teams doesn't offer to the same extent, or it is completely missing, as for instance peer feedback. Take that one as an example. And I think the last reason for us is that these tools really allow to activate students before actually they meet with their coach or their lecturer.
Okay.
That will be in a nutshell.
Yeah, thanks. And Jeroen, are that the same reasons for you?
All the same reasons, and especially the integration in Teams, so the students don't have to hop on to another application or another website to get the engagement only gets bigger with those tools of FeedbackFruits. So,
cool. And did you use FeedbackFruits already before the integration?
No, after the integration, because for our students it's just so big an advantage. It's integrated in Microsoft Teams.
So it was really the last step to try to use it.
Yes. Exactly, same here. Yeah, we were in a contract for quite a long time, but only after the integration, basically, for us was the moment to say, okay, now we would like to pilot, and we actually just recently started with the pilot.
It made
the integration of the two systems.
Oh, it made it just easier. Perfect. And which tools do you like the most? Can we start with you, Marina?
Oh, well, that's a very difficult question, and I don't think that I can answer this one, because all of them can be liked depending on the pedagogical goal that you have as a lecturer. So then there will be a preference depending on what you would like to reach. Yeah. And within our university, collaborative learning is a very important point of working in learning communities. So for instance, peer feedback can be coined as one of the most important functionalities, but all interactivity built in the other tools is also important. So tough question to answer.
Yeah, okay. And which tools do you like the most?
I like the most the interactive. I'm a big fan of Flipping the Classroom.
Yeah.
And the interactive video, the interactive documents, the engagement of the students for the study materials, it's huge. They don't only watch passively the videos of, okay, I've seen it. No, they have to engage in the video, watch it, with all their attention, and it's
okay.
It's great.
I'm a bit curious now. Can you show us something?
Sure. So what I would like to show you first is one of the 16 activities which is built in a course, which is a third year course, a course about strategic sustainable business design, where the lecturer teams have decided to use 16 different activities with FeedbackFruits.
Okay.
And at this point, we are looking at an activity which is a peer review activity. Let me just click on it. I think it's also important to share with the audience that this is a real-life team. Students had actually a seminar, community meeting this morning, and they have discussed there, in this example, literature reviews. And now we are basically watching how a peer review integrated within teams works from a lecturer's perspective.
Yeah.
By the way, we have asked consent from everyone involved in this team.
Yeah,
if you were wondering or worried about that. And what immediately you will see, let me scroll down a little bit, is overall student progress, and you probably will be shocked. How is it possible that only 0 students out of 23 have completed this? Well, if I click on the statistics per active student, I will be able to see as a lecturer how come. And I, for instance, see already that the submitted work has been handed in, but now the process of giving feedback to each other just have started. Hence, this activity is indeed not completed yet. And I can dive in deeper into the activities and find out on an individual level how everybody's doing, so who have submitted what exactly. I'm going to skip automated feedback for now, and then move in further to, the feedback which is given to each other. And for instance, I can see at this point that 3 students have been completed this one. We have set this peer review functionality where 2 students will give feedback to another one.
Yeah.
And that is how it looks from a lecturer perspective. For the lecturers involved in this course, this feels like a dashboard, because you quickly feel, okay, you understand what is the pace of the group, so where they are at this point.
Yeah.
I can zoom into the feedback given per criteria, which we have added as part of this peer review. So we can also, the moment that we meet, dive deeper into those topics which were upvoted, for instance, because the students found it an important piece of feedback and they wanted to have discussed it in class.
Okay.
Maybe for now this is
perfect,
enough.
Thank you. And Jeroen, can you show us something as well? So we switched the cable.
Yes,
Perfect.
of course I can show you something. I will show you the interactive video, and I'm now in the editing screen of it, and I've here typed some instructions. And what I like about it is also can record a voice recording, because sometimes students don't read everything but want to listen, or some other documents I can attach.
Yeah, of
and
course.
I can attach different kinds of videos. That's what I like. I can get videos from YouTube or someone else, or from my computer. It can all be integrated, so I can get all those different content and place them in one assignment, and also can adjust the grading of what they have to do, and I also can not grade if I want. So the sort of formative teaching is also. And I want to open this one. I'm not going to play it, but you see here the log. I've asked here a question, and oh, there it goes. And you can ask multiple choice question, and what I like about it is the students can't go past the question. They have to answer the question before they can go forward. And what I also like is the students themselves, and I will show you later, that they can ask questions and leave comments, and I can grade them on their engagement in the video.
All right. Okay, perfect. And how did this benefit your students? Can we also see something about a student perspective,
yes,
right?
Sure. Let us switch the cables again. All right. Well, the benefit from a student perspective, multiple benefits, to be honest. We are definitely going to measure them down the road and be able to specifically pinpoint them. But what you're looking at right now is a different team. This is about teaching English to first-year students, and I'm actually acting as a student in this team currently.
Yep.
And what you are looking at is a writing task that I'm supposed to complete before I meet my teacher and talk about, in this specific example, topic sentences. What you're looking at from a student perspective is the tool comprehension, where I'm asked after very short instructions to read a document. Let me click on Start Annotating, where you can already see that I've done a little bit of a prep work already. I have annotated 6 out of the 7 annotations which are required from me as a student, and I was basically asked for this assignment to find out the topic sentences in this text. And it is one of the many tools that colleagues are now trying out in their language classes. You can see on top here as well that there are 10 more available for this particular class. So it also gives an overview to me as a student what I'm supposed to do, alongside with very long study guides, which some students read, but some maybe don't find that easy to follow and structure. This also helps them to structure their work and their task. They can tick them off in a way, tab per tab. Going back to this specific example of a comprehension, you know, in a way, as a student, I'm forced to already prepare in advance. That's the whole idea of flipping the classroom as well. That's why the tool is from lecturers and student perspective beneficial. And I can already show to the lecturer what I understand or what I do not understand. So the moment that we actually meet, either online or offline, doesn't really matter. Principle is the same. We can only zoom into these specific, let's say, topic sentences in this example, which were not spotted at all. So the lecturer will also see immediately what is the level of comprehension of the students and what are they still missing. Well, instead of talking about everything, now they can really focus on what needs additional instruction.
Yeah, and how is that for you, Jeroen?
Yeah, I will show you the student perspective from my computer. What I also like is the student perspective is almost the same as the teacher perspective. So there's not there's not completely different. So it's easy for the teacher to watch which students what they're doing if they are in class. So here we're already in the interactive video from the perspective of students, and you can see here the instruction that I have left, and here also how my grade is built up, how I will grade the video.
Yeah.
And if I open it, you can see here the log. If I play it, I can get past the video, and I have to answer the question. And if I answer the question and submit it, I will immediately get feedback if I answered right or wrong, and I can continue to the rest of the video. And I also can myself can start a discussion and type something, and other students can engage also at that question.
Oh, so. Perfect. And for me, this looked really cool. What are your students think about this?
At start, you have to get used to it, but if you get ease it in for the students, they will, they're happy about it. It's easy to use.
Yeah, I can imagine. So of course.
So that's
Oh, cool. And how does this benefit yourself, or does it benefit yourself?
Well, the first impressions from the lecturers who already use the different tools, twofolded. For some who have used peer feedback, for instance, it means efficiency, because, for instance, there are 2 rounds of peer feedback in a group, let's say in a group of 60 students, and only after 2 rounds of peer feedback, the submitted work is viewed by the lecturer. So that is efficiency in the sense that it takes less time for the lecturer to review the work of the students, as some of the mistakes already taken out by this peer-to-peer work, basically. But we also see the quality of the discussions going up. So feedback that we already got from master students who have used peer feedback, the fact that they could annotate within the submitted work also rises the level of the online discussions as it happens within the work of everyone. And that's at the end, so the quality of student learning improves as well.
Over the whole period, and not only the exam stress.
No, exactly, because they get engaged and activated already, well, weeks and weeks months, before even the exam takes place.
Yeah, cool. And how does it benefit your work?
Yeah, they're already engaged. They come engaged to the classroom because of the flipping classroom. They already have seen. I can see if they've seen it, and they're motivated by the numbers of I've said this, and did you see that? And it's so much fun to hear the students talk about that.
Yeah, and did it benefit yourself as well? We talked before for time saving. Is that right?
Yeah, because I can reuse the assignments. If I make an assignment and I can reuse that later on the year in another classroom, that's a huge time saver for me. Cool. So I don't have to create every assignment from scratch.
Yeah, of course. And do you have the same benefits or other?
That is for sure, because you create templates of activities and then you can indeed copy from the existing ones, which saves a lot of work and a lot of time. That speaks for itself. But I think also at this moment in the crisis that we still cannot have a lot of physical contact moments in our school buildings and our campuses. Knowing how students prepare and seeing the activity before we actually meet online really makes us use the time that we have online much more effective. So it's not so much about efficiency, but it's about effectiveness. So we don't have this long, boring contact moments, but more engaging and more to the point. And so this is what one of the major added values as well, the transparency.
So everyone is effectively going on with their time and not always those long and boring lectures of all those teachers I had. Sorry.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. And Maartje, I would like to hand it over back to you.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Marina and Jeroen. Was it easy for you to start using, or did you have to do some training before you used FeedbackFruits in Teams? How did you start there?
I always like to experiment with tools, so it was very easy. It looks easy. It looks good. That's also a nice point for FeedbackFruits, that it's good looking. And no, I find it quite easy to use. So to start with, it's the 11 tools. You think, 11, no, but if you just go in and go and explore one, the rest will easily follow.
If I may add something to it, they're very intuitive, so that helps. But what I also have experienced, because I work with adopting the tool with different lecturers in different teams and with different backgrounds, but also with different levels of digital literacy. Yep. Even for me, I'm known as a clicker, so I click and I learn and experiment, but that is not the habit or the approach of many colleagues. So what we have seen already is that for some it's very intuitive, but others do need training, and we already tested FeedbackFruits in that sense, that we tested the 24, well, it's not 24 hours, but the support button, which is available within the integration.
Yes,
I think that's also a huge benefit, that while you are setting up an activity within the system, within the platform, you can ask a question and in 5 minutes you have your answer, you can move on. So you don't have to wait for a very long time. So that's helpful.
Yep.
And also the fact that you can have tailor-made training sessions is very helpful. But still, for those who don't have this feeling and you're not quite... So even for those who do need a bit of training, it's still hands-on and easy to adopt because the training is available.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I do have one other question. Is there anything you would like to see in the future, or you would improve, or you have tips for either Microsoft or FeedbackFruits? And that's also a question for the audience, by the way. So if you have anything, please post it in the chat. But I would like to hear from Marina and Jeroen as well.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about that. Well, next to maybe some minor technical issues, which definitely going to be improved. I've seen already a lot improved in the past 2 months. Sometimes small things like titles, but that helps in the use. I think at this point, especially for somebody in the back office, I set up activities for other lecture teams, and I have over 180. So that is following the structure of the channels in different teams with so many activities can become messy. Mm-hmm. So I'm waiting for the possibility to have another kind of course structure or a dashboard at least, which connects also the activity of students. Like the example I showed earlier, there's 16 activities there in that course per student. So that's, yeah, at a certain point, ideally, I would like to see as well what is the activity through all all the tabs within like over 10 channels in my team.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something we hope that we can see in the future.
Yeah, and also for my students, it would be benefit if they're in Dutch for my students and more different questions, not only multiple choice, but open questions to ask in their interactive video or any other interactive, so that they can answer that. And maybe the integration with the grades of Microsoft, so that all the grades go to one place. It would be so much fun.
That is great feedback. Yeah, we'll take that definitely into account. And we have the luck that the team of FeedbackFruits is also actually here. So we have Ananda Pereira, who is head of teacher relations, and Ewout, who is the CEO of FeedbackFruits. And Ananda, I want to start with you first. So we heard this amazing discussion between Afko, Jeroen, and Marina. Do you have any other tips for teachers who are now watching and it's all quite new to them to get started and get the most out of FeedbackFruits and the usage in teams?
Good question. Well, I think they already mentioned many good things, and I think definitely one of the most important things is don't be afraid to reach out to us for help. Like Marina mentioned, of course, the possibility to get training and to use our support chat. And I think it's always good at first to start thinking about what is my pedagogical goal? What do I actually want to achieve? What is still something that's missing in my course? So is it maybe indeed peer feedback? Is it missing maybe more like social learning or active learning? And then from that point on, see what is like the best way to use the tool. So really start from that pedagogical perspective and then see how the tools can help with that, instead of the other way around, first saying, oh yeah, let's try a new tool and then think about the pedagogy. Yeah.
Great, thanks, great tip. And I think it's also really beneficial that we have Ewout here, who might give us a little bit of insight into what is next for FeedbackFruits. What's on the roadmap? What are you guys thinking about?
Thank you, Maartje. Yeah, so hello, everyone. Well, first of all, thank you very much for this input. And when it comes to improving and ideas for the future, I heard 3 things, right? Specifically to dive into them right away. First one had to do with that if you act like an instructional designer or actually supporting teachers, setting up others, how do you maintain that overview, right? How do you maintain that the ability to keep controlling it and to make sure that if you have certain successful templates, right, that you have proven to be successful, that you can actually use them in a much wider diversity of courses instead of just one, in order for innovation to go quicker. Well, this is something. It's great that you bring it up. We have a project which we call the ID space. It stands for Instructional Design Space, and where we design a space to actually effectively do this. So allow instructional designers to support teachers, and with instructional designers does not necessarily have the title instructional designers, of course. It can also be an ICTO coach or anyone that's supporting teachers, helping to set up tooling, that they have a place in where they can pilot certain setups, validate whether they work, iterate them a bit if that is needed, and then if there's a successful example, take that example to scale it up to more teachers that are maybe a bit less innovation minded and really want something robust, and then use that to basically scale the support that you can give as a support for teachers, because we have that same scaling problem that we are trying to solve in the classroom, which is one teacher that needs to teach 30 students at the same time, or even more maybe. We have that also when it comes to teacher support, because there's always that ratio is probably even worse. So how do we allow for scalable support? Well, ID space, that is something that we're working on, and it's actually most probably going to be also available within teams, such that you can connect with your colleagues and say, hey, this really worked for me, copy to my course, such that it can then sort of as a template start in your course, and then you have to, of course, adjust a bit based on the deadlines, etc. But for innovation to travel quicker through an institution. So that's the ID space. I have to admit that's not ready yet, as in that's still in the development phase. So, and I can't put any sort of dates out there yet, but it's definitely something that we're working on. And then I heard something else, and that had to do with basically the multiple choice options. So question options, right? So at this stage, indeed, we only support multiple choice questions and open questions. However, there is a big, we want to activate learning, right? You want to spark thinking, and a different type of question sparks different type of thinking, especially if you, for example, also take images or other type of questions you can think about. So that is something that we want to bring to the next level. And there's even this thing into where you want to basically allow students to answer the questions of each other, in the sense that you're basically asked, so what is your opinion, A or B? And imagine I say A, I'm asked, okay, what question would you ask someone that has chosen B in order for this person to change his or her mind? Which then creates this, what we call this peer exercise generator. Why? So questions that are generated by the crowds, by the students themselves, which then, and if you have a good proper filtering mechanism, can actually bring forward very interesting questions. Because let's face it, teachers don't have a lot of time. And in order to activate learning, questions are gold. But creating question as a teacher is just quite tough to do. If you could, and this is one of the innovations that we have as well, for example, take that interactive video example, where you basically ask the students, could you create a question on this video for your peers? And if you have a system that filters out the best questions in that sense, that could lead to an enormous rich amount of questions that, one, reduces the workload of a teacher, two, increases the amount of questions available. There's even this experiment that we've done at the TU Delft, in where this teacher said, I'll take one of those questions, those students' questions, and I'm gonna have it on the exam. And that resulted into something very interesting, because students were like, oh, I'm gonna really draft a good question because I want to impress my teacher a bit. That's one. So there was a lot of good questions. But then the second thing was, wait a minute, one of those 30 questions that are here is going to be asked on the exam. I better practice all of them, which was fantastic, because that helped basically really, just helped in making learning even more deeper. So when it comes to question types, that is a big thing for us. Fair and then I heard you're saying, talking about, about the integration into teams, right? And for example, into gradings. I think I can, I just got message in from our CTO, who mentioned that well, this is a bit technical, sorry about that, but graphic API, so the integration behind Teams, so how Teams and FeedbackFruits talk to each other, has been improved to the next level, which allows for example, a great sync, calendar sync, but also groups taking in groups from Teams that are already created in Teams to use them, for example, in group exercises in FeedbackFruits, in order for this experience to be as smooth as possible. Because for us, we want to be a good citizen in Teams. We want to make sure that lecturers and students do not necessarily experience that they're outside of Teams, right? Because that is a very important element in the adoption of improved pedagogy. So that is the Teams integration is the ones that I can put some. Those are the ones that you will see earliest, the innovations that you will see earliest arising. And yeah, well, when we talk about innovation, I can talk for hours, Maartje. But I guess the bottom line to the whole thing is, and why we innovate is, I think, and I've said that also in the webinar in August, we're still at the beginning of the internet. Yeah. So what we currently see as innovative course design is how we've once called the first website innovative. Well, if we're now looking at the first website, it's an interesting experience, but not the most user-friendly one, right? And I think that's going to be the case with course design. So we have to push ourselves continuously to keep innovating these course designs because there's so much out there still. We're actually really still at the beginning. So therefore we have this concept called Do Tank, and where we continue this together with teachers, lecturers, and students, co-create and design and support new methods. Because we truly believe that if you take that picture with that excitement over time, this is a traditional learning model, learning design that's used everywhere in the world. We operate in Australia, from Australia to the US to South America. It's all the same, but it's gonna be extremely much more diverse. So this is the future, in our opinion, of course design. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all innovative new design. No, it's going to be a lot of different types of designs. So the need to work with different types of technology, different types of tools to support all these designs is very important. Therefore, we've designed this tool suite with a lot of different tools, and we continuously adding tools. But we make sure that experience, that user experience, is similar. So once you're used to one specific tool, it's only the pedagogy that you should think about if you want to move forward, and as little as possible the technology, and because you're already used to how this interface works. So yes, that's and there's one interesting other innovation, Maartje, if I just may.
One more.
Okay. Because that has to do also with engaging of students, right? If we take, for example, interactive video or interactive documents, and you want students to discuss, well, that's nice, but let's face it, we have this attention problem, right? Where students are, they have a lot of distractions. So why would they proactively start discussing on a video or on a document, right? So how do you sort of trigger that engagement to happen? It's a bit like a cafe. If you go to a cafe and it's empty, you're not going to go in because it's not really cozy. However, if there's already people in, you'll say, okay, I'll join. So how do you sort of kickstart that this discussion, and how do you get it to a very good level? At Wageningen University, Cora Boonstra, who's a teacher, thought of a solution that she tried already with just in a bit of a hacky way, so to say, but the pedagogical concept was very interesting. What she said, you know what I ask my students to, at the end of the assignment, tell what of their contributions was the best one, and I grade that contribution. So what happens? Student comes in and feels like, okay, and things like, I have to star one of my contributions as the best ones, so I better now think about a very good question or a very good answer to a question, which immediately raises that quality of that discussion to a certain level, plus there's a lot of engagement. And what we have seen in the data, that on average, these participants submitted 4 interactions, so 4 questions or answers to questions. However, 90% of them start their first question as their best, which means that those 3 others were just because they were engaged, intrinsically motivated, because there was actually a good question raised or a good answer given. So that method, which we call then a participation grading, that is something that we took into this do tank and we generated into an extra module on top of interactive video, for example, or interactive documents, in order to help kickstart this engagement, as well as bringing it to a next level. And maybe Ananda can show something.
That would be great.
Do we still have time? Great.
We do.
I will share my screen. So you should now be able to see my screen in Microsoft Teams, and I'm logged in as a student. So we've already seen a little bit, of course, about how FeedbackFruits works within Teams. So you can click on one of the tabs at the top, which a teacher has created. So this is an interactive video, which includes participation grading. You have the option also to go full screen, so I'll do that so it's a bit more clear, and I zoom in a little bit. Hopefully it's clear enough for everyone to see. And as a student, I have actually already participated in the discussions and the questions. So I can see here, Jeroen already showed it, I can very easily see which steps I need to complete, how far along I am, and what kind of grade is attached to it. Just to quickly show you, so here when I open the video, I can see the different questions that I already answered and the comments that were written by me or by other students. So I'm logged in as Adele, and this is one of the comments that I wrote, and actually some of my peers have reacted to it, and I have the option to reply to them again. So when I go back to the overview, as Ewout mentioned, in this case, there's an additional step added here where I need to select my best contributions, including a deadline before when I need to do it. So when I click here on select contribution, I will easily get an overview of all the comments that I have left. So new discussion threads that I started with questions or other remarks, and also replies that I left to other discussions. So I can click on it to see the context again of, in this case, a teacher asking something and other students replying to it. And I can just simply pick the one that I think is best. In this case, I have to select one comment, but the teacher can also decide that I need to have 2, 3, or 4 comments, for example. And well, I think maybe that this one is my best one, so I can select it, and then I'm ready. I can also unselect it and think, okay, actually, I want to select this one. So when I'm done, that's basically what I need to do. And then it's up to the teacher to grade them. So let's go to the teacher perspective as well. So this is the same activity, but then as a teacher. So you have that progress overview at the top that was already shown before. And also here you see that same step again. And as a teacher, I can grade the contributions. So I can click on it, and here I will see the different comments that students have chosen. So in this case, it's Ella that has this comment. So I read it. I can also, again, check exactly the context of the comment on the video. And I can say, for example, I think this is a very good comment. It's an 8. Well, I can go to the next one. And that way I can just navigate from each comment to the next until I've graded all the different comments. I'll just do something random for now. So when I submit it, everything's done. And then when I'm done grading everyone and I'm satisfied with the grades that I've given, I can make the grades visible for all the students, and they will be able to see what kind of grade I've given them. And of course, this can be included in the total grade for this assignment as well, if they want to. I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to see. I don't know,
I'm curious, Jeroen or Marina, if you see this participation grading, what are your thoughts on this? Would it be useful?
Yeah, I was excited. I think, when can I use this? No,
you can actually already enable it for you if you like to try it. Yeah.
No, I think it will be beneficial for the students, so they have to think about their own contributions in the video. So.
Yeah. I think so too, yeah. Nice. And I actually have a good audience question about this as well. So we've talked a lot about, in this webinar as well, about, of course, knowledge retention, right? And I think when I think back as my student time, there was a lot of focus on knowledge. And I think if I had these tools, my knowledge retention would be way better than I had before. But there's an audience question, what about skills? Can teachers use the feedback tools to teach certain skills to students? And if yes, which ones?
Definitely. Shall I answer that, Ewout? Or I think there are a lot of different options here. So, well, of course, if there are certain skills that students need to demonstrate during class, we have, for example, skill review or group memory evaluation, depending on if you want students to give feedback to each other or if the teacher wants to give feedback. And basically there, what you can do as a teacher is you can just create any type of criteria that you want and give feedback based on those. So that can be a role play that they do together, or it can be a presentation that they give. So this can be all kinds of skills that they demonstrate live. What we also see now, for example, with education being done online fully in most cases, is that the teacher asks students to make a video of their presentation or record a pitch, for example, and upload that in peer review. And then students can easily be assigned to review the presentations of others based on how their presentation skills are, and also, of course, the content. And this gives also, again, more opportunity to use the live lessons in a different way. And yeah, it can be a very useful way for students to be engaged with the presentations in a better way. And I think the last thing to mention for now is also with group memory evaluation, this gives the opportunity for students to have a look at their own contributions in teamwork, and also to evaluate the collaboration skills of their team members. So this is a great way for students to get more insight into their own role in a group and into their skills and what kind of elements of collaboration skills they can still work on and improve on. Great. I think these are some examples. Of course, there are many different things, but
that's a very nice tool to use, because in my student time there's always one student, they do nothing.
Exactly, and this is also something that a teacher can actually get more insight in, because of course you don't know what's happening, and in this way you can easily spot different outliers, like, hey, this student actually didn't do anything according to their group members, and see if you can solve that or help them to solve that together in that group.
It's very nice.
Great, and I'm just quickly scrolling through the, because we were entering the final minutes of our webinar, and I'm just quickly checking which, what the participants said they wanted to learn in the forums. And I think there's also a great one that we haven't really touched upon yet. And that is about the artistic side of things. So we've done a lot about like text, and that's again mostly the knowledge piece. But they're wondering, like, there's a question about, is there anything about art that you can include, or how would that work? Like, if you're more on that side, maybe Ewout can maybe question to you.
This is fantastic. This is a fantastic question. What you will see is, if you mainly sort of most learning activities are around basically knowledge absorption, right, and improving the abilities basically to uptake certain knowledge and work with that. However, when you, for example, take that part of peer feedback tooling, where students give feedback on each other's work, that is been used in art quite a lot, and often, for example, that's done through videos. If you would, for example, say someone makes a certain a movie, and then students are sort of giving feedback on each other's movie, or they have work that they are doing, paintings or others. We have examples of art students that used art at home during COVID, made art at home during COVID, then made a photo of it, and uploaded that to their peers, which then gave feedback to it with a rubric that teacher had given. So that teacher then had said, well, for us, it's important to look at, for example, the different color use, or, well, the things that are applicable there. And then other peers would look at that picture and basically give feedback to that student, which then used it to improve that artwork and make a next version. And that process was completely done online because of COVID. And yeah, but it made possible to continue that specific activity. So there are, and what you will find is the technology is one thing, right? But the applicabilities are often much wider. It requires some rethinking, but often you'll find that a lot is possible.
Yeah, you already sparked some ideas to also use it in a PE setting. So this is a movement that you have to learn for volleyball, and now you get peer feedback.
Cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's also really a benefit of like the use of videos, because you can really give feedback on the timeline of the video. So you can very specifically pinpoint, hey, this is where I see your foot is a little bit in the wrong direction, or here maybe you can improve this or that. So it actually is a great example of possibilities. Good to hear. Thanks.
I have one more question for Marina. It was not specifically directed to you, but I think you'll be a good one to answer. So there's a question from the audience around, does FeedbackFruits, or specifically the peer review tool, does it really enhance the level of quality of the feedback? And how can tutors support the quality aspect? I think you already quickly touched upon that. So that's why I wanted to ask you if you can share your insights.
Sure. Well, thinking about that, it depends on how you set up the tool. But the good thing of the way FeedbackFruits thinks, that's what I like about the suite to start with, is that you're forced as a lecturer to already come up with criteria on which feedback needs to be given. If it's peer feedback, if it's instructor, student feedback, the principles are the same. And this is based on what we know about effective learning strategy and the effect of feedback. So definitely, if these criteria are set already from the very beginning and are given, that's a must basically in order to have to use peer feedback as an effective and learning strategy. And the good thing about tooling is that what I discovered when I started to set it up, that you have to have at least one criteria. You need focus points to give feedback on, otherwise it's an ineffective tool to use to start with. And the tool is set in a way that you are forced to have at least one. So it gets you thinking that without those focus points, using peer feedback, it's meaningless, because our minds need those criteria. I hope that's kind of what you are hoping to hear.
I cannot speak for the person who asked the question.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think it was a good answer. Thank you, Marina. And there was a second part to the question, and that may be more directed to FeedbackFruits, to be FeedbackFruits yourselves. So is AI on the roadmap to be involved in that, enhancing the quality of the feedback?
I'm not sure who asked that question, but thank you, because I was about to add to this already, as in the elements. So this is a thing, right? The quality of peer feedback. Because if you use peer feedback, that's fantastic. However, again, you need to have some form of, you need to trigger some form of intrinsic motivation, or extrinsic, but at least a form of motivation, preferably intrinsic, to actually get that quality of that feedback as high as possible. So indeed, one way is actually that rubric. Another way that we have already working within the tools, it's an extra option that you can add, which is the ability to give feedback on the feedback you have received, and use that also as part of the grade. So it's not only the work that you have been building, but also how you have helped others to improve their work, which is then graded, as the quality of that is then graded by the people that have received the feedback. So that is an element, in at least an extrinsic motivated element, again, to increase the quality of that peer feedback. Another thing is that participation grading element that we've shown in the video, that Ananda showed in the video, is also possible to use that same principle, but then for contributions that you've given and feedback you've given to your peers. Okay, but the question was, how's AI going to basically, is AI a solution here? Where is AI not a solution, I think is something we still have to find out. But here, indeed, it is, so we've built this AI engine that is able to understand text quite well. We currently use it for a tool which we are experimenting with, which we call automated feedback. It automatically gives feedback on the quality of the writing of students' work. But that same engine, and sorry to talk about a bit technical, but that same sort of technology that we use to do such, we're now experimenting to what extent we can use that to directly give feedback to students that are giving feedback and how they can improve the way they formulate the feedback, how it's connected to the text, whether it's constructive, yes or no. These type of sort of indicators are then directly given, which hopefully then can lead to students that sort of, well, while they're giving that feedback before they press send, think like, well, you know what, I'll just improve it a bit, and get into that habit of giving good feedback. Because let's face it, it is a hard thing, right? Giving good feedback is not something that you're born with, or at least it needs to be developed. Let's put it this way. So helping in that development process of giving good feedback does not only benefit the student that receives it, but does definitely benefit also the student that is giving the feedback, because it helps you in work life later and private. But well, actually, as a human, feedback is an essential thing for learning, and we're continuously learning. So if we use AI to help people to improve the way they give feedback, I think will help society step forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so very much. And I'm sure there were a lot of other questions in the chat, but unfortunately I can't see it. So I want to, and I'm going to speak for FeedbackFruits here because we actually didn't discuss this. But if your question was unanswered today, please do reach out to them or to me or Afke, and we'll make sure that the questions will get answered. So hopefully they are right now, but please do reach out. And I want to thank Jeroen, Marina, Afke, Ewout, and Ananda for being with me here today. A lot of feedback from the forums was that they really wanted to see how the integration works and how it will benefit their institution and their classes. So I think we covered that, and if not, you can still reach out or you can use the links that I showed in the beginning, and I'll quickly share them again through the screen so that you can see them again. So please do, if your institution does not have FeedbackFruits in Teams yet, then you can use the first link with the webinar offer. And if you already do, but you need a little more info on how to use it, if you feel that the demos today went a little quick, or you need a little bit more information, you can go to the second link, and then FeedbackFruits really happy to help out. And I think that is it for us. So thanks to all the participants, and hopefully we'll see you soon again.